Hello, Mark Maloney back here. Week 2 of our PowerPoint e-course from Speak to Emotion. So let's get started. On the last one, we covered the basics of the top row and some of my personal favorites, likes and dislikes. We wanted to go with our standard blank screen for the most part. We're going to get into some of this other stuff today, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Let's first quickly cover the bottom row of tools, which is going to be a bit like this. Okay, we all know home. Themes, they occur in two different places. Again, I'm not a big fan of the themes. They're cookie cutter, and they take away from the creativity of those great storyboards you did. Tables, we'll get to them next week. Same with charts and smart art. That is all week 3. Transitions, oh. Here's what I recommend. Go as simple as possible, pick one, and keep it consistent. Don't keep people guessing all the time. Oh, is he going to use checkerboard, dissolve, or flash? It's just going to detract from your message. This is about your message. Animations, same thing. I either use pick one or the other and keep it consistent. Either dissolve in, slide in. Let me click on here so we can do it. Appear, something straight. If you want it to fly in from the left, just do that. But just keep it consistent. I don't like any of these spinning things or anything too fancy. Again, this isn't about your technical wizardry. This is about your message. Same thing goes with all of these emphasis effects, exit effects. Just do one, pick it, and stick with it. Next is our slideshow. You're all familiar with this. Again, that presenter view so that you see your notes. The audience does not. You maintain eye contact with them. Again, when you practice, try one on the presenter view. Try rehearsing your presentation so to get your timing down. What are you given for this speech? Do you have 5 to 7 minutes? Do you have 10 to 15 minutes? Do you have a 45-minute keynote? This is a time to get it down. You don't want to get up there in front of 300 people and be way over or way under. I also recommend this. Record your show. Listen to it. Record it before you go and do it professionally. Record it when you're rehearsing it and go back and you'll find mistakes and you will adjust and get a lot better. Talked about this hide slide thing. The reason for this is you can hide a slide because you can use the same presentation and adapt it for 15 minutes or for 45 minutes. Just hide the slides that aren't part of your core message or the ones you just have to whittle down so you can fit in that time slot. Review, edit, delete, permissions, nothing fancy. I do like that you can now mail it to someone as long as they have it. So let's go under what I was already talking about in the text. We're going to catch back up here. And we're going to do some things that we talked about before. I'm going to add a new slide. We talked about undo and redo. We talked about our good friend, presenter view. And now it's time for that fourth friend. We're going to hit a new slide, blank. And this is your fourth friend, the blank slide, correct? You'll notice these bars, we're going to get into them a little more later as we get into what we're doing. Let's take a look, and we're going to go shape, rectangle. Use this hard edge rectangle. And let's just draw it all over the screen. You are not limited by some cookie cutter design that says you may not go over the lines are your friend. Well, in this case, we decide what the lines are. So I'm covering the entire thing. I'm going to Quick Styles. And we're just going to pick this. And there you have it, the blank slide. This is your friend. This is your pause. This is where you say, hey, everybody, stop looking at the screen, and I want you to listen to me closely. So this puts it back to you as a presenter and all of the focus on you. Covering some of the stuff spoken about in the course. You'll notice, looking here at the slide design and these lines, very often I will use this sort of design. It follows what's known as the golden ratio. And what you're doing with this slide design is you're taking your words and your pictures and you're lining them up according to an old set of rules. Oh, by the way, here's that nightmare slide I talked about. Wow, long paragraphs, sentences, bullet points. Too small text to read. Absolutely horrible. You don't want to do that. Remember, this is about storytelling. You're going to convey your information in the way humans have conveyed information for tens of thousands of years by telling stories. And you have your story to tell, and you will tell it with your visual aids. Our text guidelines. 6 words if you can do it. I can't always do that. Look, I didn't do it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got away with it. But 6 words, I think that's tough, especially if you want to use a quote. I'll show a little quote sample to you. I do say stick with 2 fonts. More than 2 fonts gets too busy, and you start to confuse your audience, and they're starting to wonder about fonts. The current belief is no paragraphs. Please do not put a paragraph up there. Bullet points are less offensive, but you still want to avoid those dreaded bullet points. It's better to just have a word. You'll notice there are no bullet points here. Just the words. If you have, it used to be the 6x6 rule. 6 bullet points, no more than 6 words each, which is 36 words, 6 bullet points. Wow, that still kills the audience. Keep it short, keep it simple. I'm sorry, you don't need to read a book out loud to your people. You need to give them some pictures that they can grab onto and put those images in their mind while you get that message across. Here is, of course, a violation of the 5 or 6 word rule, which, again, especially when you get into some of these business presentations that are heavy on content, it's going to be tough to follow that rule. I like this quote from Emerson. Just put it in a little box with some color. And let's get down to really the meat of this week, which is slide design. With slide design, we like to follow the golden ratio. So the simplest way to do this is to just draw sort of a tic-tac-toe on your board, or to use those grid lines to do it. And that's what's going to give you the ability to move your text along these lines in some way or another, right? You're going to be able to move your text so it's just above this line, maybe just below this line, or again on the right. If it'll click for me, as everyone's starting to feel sorry for me here. Move it over here, line it up over on the right. I'm making a mess here, aren't I? Okay, and then a lot of times when you do a picture, you're going to want to undo that. Hey, here's my friend. Undo. How about him? You're going to want to picture your picture sometimes lined up on these lines or lined up on these lines. So text and pictures, you sort of want to keep this rule of thirds on there. Again, this fights that tendency to just stick everything in the middle. It also follows this very ancient rule of the golden ratio. So with the golden ratio, however you want to grid it so it looks like the tic-tac-toe board, but your slides are now going to try to lead the eye. So you're up here in this bottom third, you're standing here, and people's eye goes from this text down to this picture. The same way with what I'm doing in this initial slide. So you're going to read this. Yes, it's along the top line, it's centered, but the picture is off center. Here's just a little negative space. So we've got a little bit of design going here. Any questions? Please shoot them to me. Text. I did want to go back to text. Again, when we have that text, take a look at this one. A lot of text on this one. It's a right brain, left brain thing with a picture. Takes a lot of talking there. We don't want that. Again, don't hand out your slides. Don't hand out a printout of your slides. Hand out a full writing of your text. So back to that text rule. You're looking to convey emotion. We all have emotions from whether you're old enough to when Kennedy was shot, when John Lennon was shot, the trade towers. Pictures that trigger emotions. Words, again, look at the font here. This is the nice thing about what I like on using few words. That's a 66-point font. We talked about minimums. You put that in an 8-point font, who can read it? No one. Absolutely no one. The minimum font is 24. 24 is readable, not as good as I would like. I always try to go as big as possible, as readable as possible. That's another backfire thing when you do this bullet point type slide, where you say you do this, and then you hit your bullet points, and as you keep adding more text, and more whatever. Do you see how the font gets smaller and smaller? You're really killing your audience. I'm at how many? 5 bullet points here, and already we're down to 22 font. If I add that 6 bullet point, cheesy effect, right? We're now down to an 8-point font. The people in the back can't see this. So just to recap, minimum 24-point font, no bullet points. It's better to just have the words themselves underneath. That way people can read them. The bullet points just brings back bad memories for people. And again, too much text, you get such small writing, no one can see it. Pictures, golden rule. Using that golden ratio, not golden rule, where you're sort of blocking this off into thirds and trying to line things up along these lines. You don't have to do it for every slide, but as a general rule, you want to take the viewer's eye. We generally read from left to right, which means you're going to be presenting over here on the left if you're stuck behind a podium. But we go from left to right, and that's generally a way to take the viewer's eye over across here. I didn't want to do that. But you'll take the viewer's eye over here, over there, down, across a series of images, whatever you want to do. But that's the point of slide design. Less text, effective photos. I will see you next week, where we will deal with the difficulties of charts and graphs.